Hi everyone, Marvelous Joe here at the top of the episode to announce the kickoff to our 4th annual charity fundraiser. This year we're raising funds for a wonderful organization called Pop Culture Classroom, which helps promote literacy among young children through comic books and other innovative tools of popular culture. I'm sure many of you out there learn to read or discover the joy of reading through comics. So if you're like us and feel this is a cause you can get behind, check out the Facebook page for Dynamic Duel DC vs. Marvel to donate now. The day this episode drops, Tuesday, December 3rd, is known nationwide as Giving Tuesday, and Facebook will match your donation, so there's literally no better time to give $1 or $2 than right now. Our fundraiser will end on Saturday, December 14th, 2019. As a bonus, Jonathan and I will choose one generous donor at random to win original drawings of the Amazing Spider-Ham and What's It the Flash Turtle, drawn by Nathan Santasteven. Happy holidays to all of our listeners and all the heroes who donate this season. On with the show. Hi, and welcome to the Dynamic Duel Podcast, a weekly show where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in stat-based battle simulations. I'm Johnny DC. And I'm his twin brother, Marvelous Joe. And in this episode, we are reviewing the Christmas film, Batman Returns. Yeah, it's a real Christmas movie, unlike Die Hard, which is, just a sham Christmas movie. Oh, look, one more thing we disagree about. But before we get into the review of Batman Returns, we're going to break down the news from the past week, of which there was none. Yeah, there's no news. You figured that Thanksgiving week, when you're around all your family members, would be a good time to drop some kind of news, because word will spread really fast. Yeah, it's something to talk about at the dinner table. But nope, nothing. We're supposed to get the Wonder Woman trailer here fairly soon, and I assume we'll get the Black Widow trailer immediately right after that. Ugh. So, fingers crossed that happens here within the next week or so we could actually have some legitimate news to talk about. What we are going to talk about is CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths, which starts this upcoming Sunday, December 8th. Yeah, that's going to be a huge event. It's like the end game of DC television. Exactly. There's going to be a ton of characters, and we're going to break down each character confirmed for the event in this episode. As always, the segment times are in our episode description, so feel free to jump to whatever section you want to listen to. Big, huge congratulations to Kyle Butler, who was the winner of our comic book giveaway contest, which he won by posting a link to his favorite episode on social media and tagging us on that post. Yeah, he wins the 4-issue DC vs. Marvel miniseries from the 90s. And we'll have another promotion like that within the next few months here, where we're going to give away the 4-issue miniseries JLA vs. Avengers. So if you guys didn't win this time, hold out hope, you might win next time. We also want to give a quick thank you to Iron Zorak, Sarah Holler, and Dad of DMRE for giving us reviews on Apple Podcasts. We are currently standing at, drumroll please, 186 ratings. Holy shit! That's up from 173 from our last episode. It's amazing. You guys totally showed up during this Thanksgiving week. Yeah, you did. There must be some kind of miracle worker out there. Just want to thank you. Seriously, it's just amazing. I wasn't sure that we would make it to 200 by the end of this year. Now I actually believe we can. Yeah, this is like the home stretch, guys. All we need is 14 more ratings on Apple Podcasts or iTunes. And at that point, we reach 200 ratings, and we are then eligible to become critics on Rotten Tomatoes. We could totally do this. We could do it. I believe in us. I believe in you guys. So thanks once again to everyone who's rated us from the very start. Imagine a Dynamic Duel episode without us talking about this. Insane. I can't even picture it. But now that that's done, quick, to the No Prize. A No Prize is an award Marvel used to give out up until the 90s to fans. Our version, the Dynamic Duel No Prize, is a digital award that we post on social media that Jonathan personally draws for those who we feel gave the best answer to our question of the week. Last week's question was in regards to the Black Adam film that's coming out in December of 2021. We learned that Hawkman and the JSA will be appearing in that film. So we wanted to see who you guys would cast as Hawkman. Our first honorable mention goes to Darian Sykes, who gave the answer of Sam Worthington. And I haven't seen Sam Worthington in a role in a while. Ever since Avatar, he kind of fell off the face of the earth. Oh, I saw him in that Terminator movie, which was awful. Terminator Salvation? Yeah. I guess he was in Clash of the Titans. He was in quite a few bombs, but he was great in Avatar, so I think he would be a fantastic Hawkman.
Matt Rivera gave the answer of Gerard Butler.
And I think I normally would have agreed with that answer if we didn't have the Gods of Egypt film.
I never saw it. Was it bad?
It was bad. And I'm a fan of Alex Proyas. He's a really good director. That film was not good, however. Honorable mention also goes to David Leal, who gave the answer of Javier Bardem.
I could see Javier Bardem as Hawkman. I like that angle because Javier Bardem is a Spanish actor, and geographically, the Iberian Peninsula is really close to North Africa, where Egypt is. So I think he could really fit in with the whole ancient Egyptian setting of the film.
And I'm sure it's also going to be in the Middle East, because Kandak is supposed to be like in the Middle East, so.
Yeah. We know that Spain is not in the Middle East. Don't add us. We're just saying we think he'd be good for the part.
Iranagami gave the answer of Hugh Jackman. And I'm like, yes, let's do that.
Well, I mean, he played Wolverine, and he's retired from that now. You and I have always thought that Hawkman and Wolverine have been similar, so much so that we pit them against each other in one of our previous duel episodes.
I think that's why I really liked this answer. Hugh Jackman, he's just a really good actor. He could play in anything.
And we know that he could get buffed for the role.
Absolutely.
Sana Farumand gave the answer of Theo James, and I forgot who this guy was, but I looked him up, and he's the guy from the Divergent series. He kind of looks like a British James Franco with a goatee.
Yeah, I always call him Theo James Franco.
But he's a little bit more broad, I think. He looks a little bit more action hero-y. I think he could pull it off.
Jacob Bell gave the answer of John Krasinski, which he's currently killing it as Jack Ryan.
Yeah, he's a total action star now. He could totally pull off Hawkman.
If he can't be Captain America, sure, Hawkman. Why not?
Or Mr. Fantastic. I'd like him to be Mr. Fantastic, too.
Oh, that's right. He would make a great Mr. Fantastic.
Honorable mention goes to Jeff Miles Jr., who gave 3 answers. He said Shamar Moore, who plays in Criminal Minds, I think.
Yeah.
And he would be great. I think a young Shamar Moore would actually nail this role. But he's a little bit up there in age now, but an actor just like him.
I don't think any more than Vin Diesel, who Jeff Miles Jr. also gave as one of his answers.
Oh, that's true.
I would love Vin Diesel and The Rock to just battle it out on screen, because they're going to be battling it out behind the scenes.
Right. And Jeff Miles Jr. also said Senthil Ramamurthy, who is an Indian American actor. I don't think I've ever seen anything that he's been in, but he has a good look.
Neil Poling gave the answer of Zico Zaki, who's in the show FBI. I'm not familiar with him at all.
But he has a fantastic look. He's an Arabic actor himself. He's totally jacked. The downside is that I'm not sure how well known he is.
Yeah, he may not bring too much star power if they ever wanted to make like their own Hawkman film.
Right.
Shannon Sanderson gave the answer of Michael Fassbender, which isn't a horrible choice. I guess he's not Magneto anymore.
Right. I always like to see Fassbender in this comic book stuff. And if he could pull off the Magneto helmet, he could pull off the Hawkman helmet.
Oh, for sure.
George Cornetis and Salvador Martinez both gave the answer of
John Cena!
Have I done the John Cena meme yet on this podcast? We've mentioned him a few times.
I don't think we have.
Well, apologies to anybody who just got startled. Now, I remember back in the day when they were casting Shazam, you and I thought it would be a cool idea to have John Cena, because at the time, I think he was in the running for the role.
Yeah, and we wanted to see like 2 wrestlers turned actors just like throw down.
Yeah, although now John Cena is in the Suicide Squad movie, so I don't think he could actually take this part now since he's another DC character.
Yeah, we don't know if it's a shared universe yet, but you might be right.
Honorable mention goes to Calvin John Della Merced, who said that Jason Clarke should take the role primarily because of his badass voice. Now, Jason Clarke is the actor who played in It Comes at Night. He was in Zero Dark 30.
He was in the Planet of the Apes films.
Yeah, the second one.
John Spees gave the answer of Ahmed Magdi,
who is an Egyptian actor. I've never heard of him, but he's done a lot of work in Egyptian film and is hugely influential there.
I almost wonder if, since Hawkman is a reincarnation of an ancient Egyptian prince, if you need the same actor, or if his soul would be reincarnated in a new body for the modern era. You can almost cast anyone then.
That's true. That's a great point. That's a pretty cool concept, actually. You never have to worry about recasting.
Nope. And you could go back in time and do period films with Hawkman.
So much untapped cinematic potential with the Hawkman character.
For sure. Mike Cusick gave the answer of Jesse Williams. He was great in Cabin in the Woods. That's still like one of my favorite horror films.
Yeah, he was fantastic in that. You guys might also know him from Grey's Anatomy.
Our final honorable mention goes to Chance Martinez, who gave the answer of Justin Hartley. And when I think of Justin Hartley, I think of either Aquaman from the old failed Mercy Reef TV show, or Green Arrow, who he played in the Smallville series.
That's right. He's played a couple DC characters now, huh?
Who knows? Maybe he'll make an appearance on the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover.
Oh, yeah.
But the winner of this week's No Prize goes to Dustin Belcom, who gave the answer of Michael B. Jordan.
Now, I initially was against this answer because Michael B. Jordan is Killmonger, and it's been rumored that he's going to make an appearance again in Black Panther 2. And I don't know if he'll have like a recurring role if they're bringing him back from the dead or whatnot. That being said, if he gets really buff like how he does in the Creed films,
yeah,
I think that would be so badass to see him go up against The Rock.
He's actually like one of the few actors on this list that I think can go up against The Rock. Not in terms of like physicality, but in terms of like charisma and intensity.
Yeah. You want an actor who could potentially carry his own film one day. So you need that kind of star power. I think Michael B. Jordan has every single thing that you're looking for within Hawkman. And there were rumors going around saying that he was petitioning to play Superman.
Yeah, he pitched Warner Brothers on a Superman film where he would be the starring character.
And if he doesn't get that, I think Hawkman would be a perfect choice.
Absolutely. I could think of very few other people who would be better for the role than him.
So congrats again to Dustin Balcom. You win this week's No Prize. If you, the listener, want to win your own No Prize, stay tuned to the rest of this episode when we'll be asking another question of the week. With that out of the way,
on to the news. Okay, as we mentioned earlier, the CW's Crisis on Infinite Earths 5-part crossover starts this upcoming Sunday, December 8th.
5 parts?
Yeah, it's going to be 5 parts.
Is it 5 hours long?
Yeah, in total it will be. It's going to start with Supergirl on Sunday, then go to Batwoman on Monday, and then The Flash on Tuesday, December 10th. But then the shows go on their winter hiatus, and they don't come back until January 14th.
Oh, really? Oh, it's going to be a cliffhanger.
Yeah, it's going to, oh, for sure. And then we're going to have a 2-hour conclusion to the story with Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow.
That sounds pretty awesome, I gotta say.
I honestly can't wait. You may know if you've listened to our show for a while that I don't really keep up with all of these CW shows. It's just way too much television, but I do watch the crossover events.
Yeah.
And I've been looking forward to this one for a really long time. These crossover events have become like a tradition. It's like an annual tradition that they do now. They've been pretty awesome. It started off with Arrow and The Flash in a Brave and the Bold event. Mm-hmm. And then after that, they incorporated Supergirl and did Invasion.
And that was with Legends of Tomorrow, too.
Yeah. And then after that, they did Elseworlds. That was last year's. And that actually set up this year's event, Crisis on Infinite Earths, which promises to incorporate way more characters than they've ever had in an event. It's going to be awesome.
It will be the largest superhero event on television ever. I can't think of how they could ever top this.
And it's the largest DC live action ensemble, taking characters from other TV shows and film. It's crazy the amount of actors they were able to pull from DC television and film history.
Yeah, they're going all the way back to the 60s with Burt Ward.
Yeah.
His version of Robin is going to make an appearance in this event.
And you'd have to think if Adam West was still alive, he would as well.
Yeah.
That would have been so perfect.
That would have been.
But there's a lot of other surprises on the list of confirmed characters, and we still don't know who else is going to show up, because it's rumored that there's more that we don't even know about. Of course, Green Arrow is going to make an appearance. He has his own show. He's the one who started it all. This is, after all, referred to as the Arrowverse. Mm-hmm. Spartan, John Diggle, is also going to make an appearance, although it's rumored that it's going to be revealed that his real name is actually John Stewart.
Hasn't that been a rumor for a really long time, though?
It has been, but since this is Arrow's final season, there's been talk that they're going to give a nod to that fan theory.
Okay.
Dinah Drake, Black Canary, as will Black Siren, that's Laurel Lance. So you have the 2 Black Canaries there.
Nice.
Mia Smoke is rumored to make an appearance as the new Green Arrow. Of course, she'll be getting her own Green Arrow show in a few years with the 2 Black Canaries.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah. She's Oliver Queen's daughter.
Gotcha.
Connor Hawke, who's Oliver Queen's son in the comics, will also be making an appearance, as will Wild Dog and Harbinger. The character who plays John Diggle's wife in the show is coming in as Harbinger.
And Harbinger played a big role in the Crisis on Infinite Earths comic book storyline, right?
Right, yeah. She's sort of the adopted daughter of the Monitor.
Okay. And who is the Monitor?
The Monitor is sort of like DC's Watcher.
Okay.
If that makes sense to Marvel fans.
Sure, yeah.
There, I just translated it for you.
Thanks, man.
On the Flash side, of course, we have the Flash. We also have Reverse Flash, who's being played by Tom Cavanaugh, who will be pulling triple duty in this event. He's also going to be playing Harrison Wells, as usual, and Pariah.
Who's Pariah?
Pariah in the comics was a scientist who, like the Guardian Krona, tried to find the origins of the universe and ended up creating this huge cosmic evil.
Oh, okay.
I think in this series, it's rumored that he's going to be the one who accidentally unleashed the Anti-Monitor. So he's,
Who's the Anti-Monitor?
Oh my fucking gosh. He's the Anti-Watcher.
Oh, okay.
He's the one who destroys universes.
Gotcha.
Killer Frost will be in the show, as will Elongated Man, Vibe, of course.
Oh, Elongated Man, that's cool.
Well, he's been on the Flash show for like 2 seasons.
Oh.
And John Wesley Shipp, who was the Flash in the 90s TV show, will come back as the Flash.
As Jay Garrick Flash with the bull on his head?
No, as Barry Allen, the Flash.
Really?
He was Jay Garrick earlier in the series.
Okay, right. I knew that. But he's coming back as Barry Allen.
Yeah, in his classic 90s Flash costume.
That's pretty cool. I liked that costume.
Supergirl will be there, as will Brainiac 5, Martian Manhunter. Lex Luthor is going to join the team,
Really?
apparently.
Oh, cool. I hope he has his suit.
Oh, like a war suit?
Yeah.
That would be badass. Lena Luthor will be there, as will Superman and Lois Lane.
And this version of Superman is the one that's in the Supergirl television show, right?
Yeah, Tyler Hoechlin is the actor playing him.
Yeah.
Dreamer is going to be there as well. She's a superhero on the Supergirl TV show. Erica Durance is also going to show up as Supergirl's mother, but she's also going to be playing Lois Lane from Smallville.
That's right.
Because Tom Welling is also showing up as Superman.
Damn! How many Supermen are there going to be?
Well, 3, I think, because from Legends of Tomorrow, Brandon Routh is showing up as the Atom and the Kingdom Come version of Superman.
That's so cool to see Brandon Routh back in the cape.
Oh, it's going to be awesome.
From Superman Returns.
Yeah, we've already seen like publicity stills of him as Superman. It's great. Also from the Kingdom Come universe, Kevin Conroy is going to be playing Bruce Wayne / Batman.
Holy shit!
Isn't that awesome?
He's the voice actor of Batman from the 90s animated Batman show.
Yeah, he's playing old Bruce Wayne.
Oh, that's interesting. See, I don't know why they didn't cast him in the Titans television show instead of Ian Glenn, you know?
Right? Yeah, I was wondering the same thing when I found out he was going to be on this show.
Are any of the Titans cast going to join this?
No, but it is rumored right now that Stargirl from the DC Universe series that will be appearing later on next year.
Yeah.
It's rumored that she's going to be in this crossover event.
Oh, cool. Okay. So she's going to be making her debut here.
Right, exactly.
They should get the Titans. Titans and Doom Patrol.
That would be awesome. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Yes.
But also from Legends of Tomorrow, we're also getting White Canary, Heatwave, John Constantine, Jonah Hex, and Steel.
Oh, John Henry Irons?
No, this is Nate Haywood. Do you remember when we did Commander Steel versus Captain America?
Yeah.
I touched on Nathan Haywood in that bio. It's him. He could turn his skin into steel like
Colossus?
In this show, at least, not in the comic book.
Gotcha.
We also have Batwoman making an appearance from her new show.
Yeah.
Black Lightning is finally coming to the crossover from his show.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Ryan Choi is making an appearance as the Atom. I think he's going to be replacing Brandon Routh as the character on Legends of Tomorrow, but I could be wrong.
Oh, are they killing him off?
Yeah, he's leaving the show. I don't know if they're killing him off or not, but he's leaving.
Interesting.
Huntress from the Birds of Prey short-lived television series.
I remember that.
Is going to be in the series.
Yeah, she was the daughter of Batman and Catwoman, and she had, like, cat powers.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. That's
so
the
dumb.
one. Jim Corrigan will be on the show from the Constantine TV show. That was also short-lived.
Who's Jim Corrigan?
The Spectre.
Holy shit!
Yeah! Holy shit!
They're gonna have the Spectre on this?
Yep.
Dang.
Alexander Knox, the journalist from the Batman movie, the Tim Burton film.
Really?
Yeah.
He's
weird. Not really a superhero, but it's just a cool cameo.
Huh.
And then, of course, we have the Monitor and Anti-Monitor.
It makes me wonder the context of how some of these guest appearances are going to show up.
I'm sure some of them are just going to be like throwaway cameos, but it's still going to be awesome to see them nonetheless.
Yeah. That is like the equivalent of Endgame for DC. Just a huge-ass cast. Hopefully they all come together for one big battle.
I'm still really curious as to who like these other surprise appearances are going to be. I'm thinking the odds are probably like Linda Carter because she was on the Supergirl show for a while.
Oh, okay. I want to see Swamp Thing in there.
Yeah, Swamp Thing from his short-lived show. Why not?
That'd be cool.
Just get fucking everybody. Just everybody. Oh, man.
That brings us to our question of the week.
What character from another DC show or film outside of the Arrowverse do you hope makes an appearance in the Crisis on Infinite Earths crossover?
And this could be from any DC television show or film that's ever been made. Just let us know who you would be most excited to see show up. Post your answer to our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or email us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com. We'll pick our favorite answer and draw that person a Dynamic Duel No Prize that we'll post to social media.
But that really wraps up our news section. Again, it's going to be a short episode this week. Let's all put on our Santa hats and review the 1992 Tim Burton film, Batman Returns. So, Batman Returns. As I mentioned earlier, it was released in 1992, and it was the sequel to the tremendously successful 1989 film Batman, also directed by Tim Burton. Let's be real. You've probably seen this movie by now, but if you haven't, it's been decades. There are better Batman movies out there. You don't have to watch it, but I recommend you do if you want to get the most out of this review.
For me, it was just cool to go back and watch it and just get all the nostalgia that I felt as a kid seeing it when it came out.
Oh yeah, these Tim Burton Batman films are just so loaded with the nostalgia. It's ridiculous. I still remember having the VHS tapes. I still remember fast forwarding through like the preview trailers that they had on VHSs.
Oh yeah, that's right. Before the movie would play, the studios would put trailers of their upcoming movies before the movie.
Right. These Batman films were just a really big part of our childhood, I remember.
Specifically the Tim Burton ones, though.
Yeah.
Because once Joel Schumacher took over, even as a young kid, I still knew that they were shit.
Yeah. I really like Tim Burton as a director, especially his older stuff. Again, I really liked the 1989 Batman film. I reviewed the Batman film on the Blast from Our Past podcast, and we had a lot to say about it, so check out that episode. But I think it's Tim Burton's twisted, gothic, artistic vision that adds character to his environments and makes the characters themselves much more interesting.
Absolutely. It was almost like he was given more free reign to incorporate his gothic vision on this movie than the first one.
Oh, definitely.
I got heavy Nightmare Before Christmas vibes from this.
For sure.
Which is interesting because I think this movie came out like a year before The Nightmare Before Christmas. And so you could kind of tell that Danny Elfman was really into that like gothic Christmas vibe with his music writing.
Oh, absolutely. There's like no better director-composer pairing than Tim Burton and Danny Elfman. But what's great about Tim Burton is that characters like the Penguin in the comics have always been kind of, either silly or boring, in my opinion. But under Tim Burton, a character like the Penguin becomes much more sinister and frightening. And honestly, like Matt Reeves has a lot of work cut out for him to make Colin Farrell as interesting as Danny DeVito was in this film.
Yeah, I don't think Matt Reeves is going to go the sewer monster route with his Penguin, which I'm actually looking forward to.
Yeah, he'll probably go like debonair mobster.
Right.
And as much as I like The Dark Knight Rises, Christopher Nolan couldn't top Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman with Anne Hathaway.
No. Freaking Michelle Pfeiffer is the best.
She is.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, Michael Keaton is their definitive Batman. Even despite his inability to turn his head. It's remarkable the impact that these characters have on people who have seen the films.
The legacy has been lasting.
Absolutely. Everything from the music to the Batmobile to just the whole tone has had a lasting legacy. Now, not everyone appreciated these dark versions of the characters. It's pretty well known and documented that Tim Burton's dark gothic version of the villains for this film sparked enough outrage amongst parents that the film became a merchandising nightmare. McDonald's, toy stores couldn't sell their Batman Returns toys, and that's pretty much why Tim Burton was replaced by Joel Schumacher for the planned third film.
Yeah, I don't know if I would ever buy a Danny DeVito Penguin action figure.
You just squeeze him and like black ooze comes out of his mouth. It's like,
gross.
Whoa, real ooze action.
And he makes like a lewd remark.
Exactly.
About his giant parasol.
Oh, jeez. The film wasn't exactly marketed as a kid's film, unless you include the Happy Meals. But like a lot of kids were supposedly scarred by the Penguin. And yeah, I can kind of see how these versions of the villains of the characters can be like horror film versions.
Yeah.
Like Catwoman here is kind of explicitly a sewn together Frankenstein's monster version of the character.
Right.
And the Penguin is like this deformed sewer creature with zombie eyes, drooling blood and black sludge.
He was so gross.
It is really gross. This is without a doubt the scariest Batman film. And in fact, I'd say it's more of a horror film than an action film because, let's be honest, Tim Burton can't direct action.
He can't, no.
The fight scenes in this film are embarrassingly bad. Almost as embarrassing as all of the innuendo and one-liners throughout the film.
That was bad. I was
really
shocked, like all the stuff that just went over my head as a kid. Like they have the word poontang in here. And pussy.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit. That didn't even click with me.
I'm not sure how the actors, who by the way, like they all did a fantastic job in this film.
Right.
But I'm not sure how they even made it through some of the dialogue without like laughing.
Or like questioning it.
Right.
Like eat floor.
Right. Did somebody say fish? I haven't been fed all day. Eat floor. High fiber.
There are some frankly cheesy moments in this.
Or even maybe this is a bad time to mention this, but my license has expired. It's like, why? Why waste screen time like that?
Yeah, they started dipping into Schumacher territory here.
Everyone thinks of the Joel Schumacher Batman films when they think of corny dialogue, but I feel like that trend started with this film.
Yeah, and in that regard, I don't think that this movie quite lived up to the 89 Batman film.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I still prefer that film to this one, but just barely. Just barely. Compared to the Schumacher films, though, at least, again, those didn't have all the raunchy humor.
Right.
Like, Catwoman and the Penguin are the two most sexually repressed villains in any comic book film ever. Yeah. You can't get through a single scene without one of them talking about filling voids or being gentle because it's their first time.
Right.
Though I guess with Catwoman, you could argue it's like a sex-positive female empowerment thing. But I'll get into that later when we talk about Catwoman. First, let's talk about Batman. So Batman/Bruce Wayne was played by Michael Keaton. You know, one of the reasons Michael Keaton is said to have left the role of Batman, you know, other than the departure of Tim Burton, was because the Batman films were becoming more about the villains than the title character. And he was right.
Yeah, especially in this movie, it feels like both the Penguin and Catwoman got more screen time than Bruce Wayne and Batman.
They did. You know, I don't think we saw a Batman film truly about Batman until Batman Begins. Because even with the 89 Batman, you still had a lot of Joker in there.
Right.
In Batman Returns, the character is very reactionary to the villain's actions, specifically. And that's not good for a protagonist. It makes them kind of boring and weak. And I think the writers realized that. So they tried to compensate by making Bruce Wayne weird. Or at least they tried to imply that he was.
Bruce Wayne in this movie was kind of used for comedic effect.
He was.
Every time he took off the mask, he was like cracking jokes.
About Vicky Vale or Vichyssoise being cold.
Yeah.
There was a few lines like where the Penguin said Batman was jealous because Batman wasn't a genuine freak and had to wear a mask. And Batman's response is, you may be right.
Yeah, that was kind of like a pretty good bit of character development right there, but it was pretty throwaway.
It was late.
Yeah.
You know, and as an audience member, I wasn't quite sold. Like, even when Bruce spouted lines about how he wrestles with duality or that he mistook himself for someone else, I'm like, Bruce Wayne acts the same as Batman when he's Bruce Wayne. There's no, like, Clark Kent acting job going on there. Granted, like, he'd rather take an Iron Maiden slide to the Batcave, even though the stairs are just as fast. But that's about as weird as it gets with him. In a way, Bruce's arc is simply to legitimize Catwoman's arc, in that he's drawn to and empathizes with her.
Yeah.
And by the end of the film, recognizes that she was his equal, that goodwill should be toward men and women, like his lost love, Selina. But then again, that arc would only make sense if he ever treated Selina as though she wasn't his equal, and he never did that.
No, he hit her in the face just like he would any man.
I mean, he felt bad about it, but yeah, he did do that.
He did.
So talking about Catwoman/Selina Kyle was played by Michelle Pfeiffer, and her character has the most powerful arc in the film. In a way, she's kind of the protagonist of the story.
She's the most transformative character by far.
Yeah, absolutely. We get a glimpse of the Penguin's origin in the film's prologue, but again, the most amount of change, transformation, and the strongest message of the film comes from the character of Selina Kyle. She doesn't start off as a prostitute or a jewel thief like she did in the comics. She starts off as a tragic, lowly secretary, rebuffed, ignored, insulted, ultimately underappreciated, and eventually straight up murdered.
It's an interesting take on the character that has no basis in the comics. She's essentially brain damaged, is what it seems like. Or maybe not even brain damaged, but awakened in some sense.
That's a better term. And like, this all happened just because she was trying to get ahead in her career and in her life in general. You know, her resurrection is probably the most supernatural element of the Tim Burton films in any of them.
Do you see it as a real resurrection? Because it's kind of left ambiguous.
I think it is. You don't fall from that many stories and not die.
Well, no, the awning saved her.
Barely. She ripped right through those like really fast. That whole scene was like pretty traumatizing.
Yeah, as a kid, I remember that was kind of scary. Actually, I was most freaked out, though, that the cat was, like, biting at her fingertips. When I was a kid.
Yeah. All the cats bringing her back to life. You know, like, strangely enough, it's almost as if Mother Nature herself was trying to right the injustice of Selina's death with the cats.
And it was done much more effectively than it was with Halle Berry in the Catwoman movie.
We don't even talk about that. We're not even talking about that.
You know we're going to review that movie one day, right?
That's going to be our last episode. You know when we review the Catwoman film that it's going to be our last episode. The scene of Selena's breakdown back in her apartment is probably the most powerful in the film.
Yeah.
Just seeing her lose it after the second message from the perfume company.
Right.
It's both devastating and empowering in a way.
Yeah,
it's cathartic.
She kind of like destroyed her old self to become the new self.
Exactly. Her arc is one essentially of feminist awakening. And in this scene, with her shredding her like stuffed animals and spray painting her idyllic dollhouse black, she's literally redefining womanhood and herself as a woman, as one with the agency and skill and ability to craft her own powerful identity with a sewing machine.
Yeah.
And, hell hath no fury, like a woman scorned.
It's interesting watching these old movies through modern contexts, because I was like, oh, this is such a progressive film in terms of like feminism and environmentalism.
Oh, right?
Yeah.
Right? It's ahead of its time.
But really, these social themes have been around forever.
Yeah, I think they've been around longer than most young people realize or recognize.
Yeah.
And I say that as a young person.
We're not that young.
Not that old either.
That's true.
But as Catwoman, she's, of course, a villain. She makes bad decisions. She blows up buildings and she plots murders, but she also saves rape victims.
Yeah.
She brings the pain for sure, all the way up until the very end, when she kind of goes through her final temptation, with Batman unmasked as Bruce Wayne, offering her the fairy tale ending the old Selina would have died for.
Right.
She ultimately rejects that life.
Yeah, she can't go back.
No, she pretty much says that explicitly, that she can't go back, And she sacrifices herself to stick it to the man, with a taser.
Yeah. Do you think she really has 9 lives in this film, or do you think that she's just really tenacious?
I think you sort of have options. She could be tenacious. She could actually believe that she has 9 lives. She actually could have 9 lives due to her supernatural resurrection.
Yeah.
If that was, in fact, supernatural. It's all very ambiguous, but that's what I like about it.
I like that, yeah.
I do want to talk about her costume, because it was like the one thing I didn't really like about the character. I know there's a lot of fans of it out there.
Uh-huh. Well, I like the material, and I like how it communicates a message that's appropriate for her arc in this movie. But if we're talking about Catwoman costumes, I have to rank probably Anne Hathaway's at the top for being the most functional.
Yeah. Then Michelle Pfeiffer's.
Then Halle Berry's.
Dude, we're not talking about her. That doesn't exist as far as you're concerned. Okay. But no, I guess like when Tim Burton was originally sketching out the costume for the character, he drew her as like a sewn together kind of doll figure, almost like Sally from The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's where that came from.
I see the parallels
But
there.
apparently the stitching wasn't even real stitching. It was like white marker on the costume. It was like super, super tight. But yeah, if you took off the stitching, I think it would be a perfect Catwoman costume. Michelle Pfeiffer just wore it so well.
Yeah, she did. This is kind of a side note, but watching Michelle Pfeiffer's performance kind of made me think that was the same approach that Kristen Wiig was going to take for the Cheetah character for the upcoming Wonder Woman 1984 film.
I could see that. She kind of has the same fashion style in a way.
Yeah.
From the stills that we've seen so far.
Kind of like transforms herself into this strong, powerful woman.
I would not be surprised at all if they went that route, or at least were inspired by Michelle Pfeiffer's take on the character.
Yeah.
She wasn't originally cast as Catwoman. Originally, Annette Bening was cast.
Oh, wow. Annette Bening would have been fantastic in this role.
I think so, too. She got pregnant during pre-production, though.
Oh.
So she wasn't going to be able to squeeze into the suit.
Yeah.
So Michelle Pfeiffer was cast after her.
So I guess Annette Bening finally got her superhero role with the Supreme Intelligence and Captain Marvel, though.
Yeah. So the Penguin, Oswald Cobblepot, was played by Danny DeVito, and I love Danny DeVito's performance in this film. It's just as good, in my opinion, as Jack Nicholson's performance as the Joker.
Absolutely.
He really, really sells it. And the costume and makeup help a lot.
They do, but it's so bizarre. Like, I barely see Danny DeVito in this role.
Really?
Yeah, well, I mean, like, not very many actors look like him, but, like, you see his other performances, and I see nothing of the Penguin in those.
That's true. Yeah, he's a really good actor. I was in charge of carving the Thanksgiving turkey this year. I watched this film the day after Thanksgiving, and when the Penguin's wearing his, like, disgustingly dirty onesie, you can see the musculature underneath, and it looked just like the Thanksgiving turkey.
What?
It did.
Gross.
He's like this deformed person that'd almost be sympathetic if he wasn't so fucking horrible as a human being. Danny DeVito had like no ego going into this role. He was ugly and gross and said just awful things, but he's smart and charismatic in like how confident and funny he was. Like, the Penguin had no delusions about who he was or what he wanted. He was like a fully realized version of the character, even if it wasn't one completely faithful to the comics.
Yeah, I do love how they used his umbrellas in this, though.
Yes.
They did a great job with
Those
that.
were awesome. I love at the end when he grabs one, he's like, shit, grab the cute one. As I've mentioned in a few of our Batman-related duel episodes, the best Batman villains are like corrupted mirror reflections of Bruce Wayne himself. And one of the better foils has always been Oswald Cobblepot. It's like, what if Bruce Wayne's parents were vile? Well, then Bruce Wayne would probably end up like the Penguin, seeking vengeance not on the criminal underworld, but upon the privileged and social elite of Gotham. The Penguin's grand plan in this film, when he wasn't being used by Max Schreck, was to kill all the firstborns in Gotham.
Yeah.
Of course, when Batman stopped those plans, the Penguin upped the stakes to comic book levels in his new bid to destroy all citizens of Gotham with rocket-strapped penguins. Those penguins were adorable.
They were so cute. I didn't want them to kill anybody.
Right. Only a madman like the Penguin would. Now, we've mentioned Danny Elfman, the music composer for this film. I think his Penguin theme was the best theme of this film.
I liked Catwoman's theme in this.
Really?
Yeah.
They were all really good, but to me, the Penguins was so, like, sympathetic and kind of sad
Yeah.
and dark. It's the theme that opens the film.
Right, and then it leads into Batman's theme in the credits.
Yeah. I do like Catwoman's as well, because they did, like, the violin string, like, scratching to get, like, the meow effect.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. He's just, like, really creative and inventive with the sounds that he makes for his scores. Mm-hmm. The final character I want to touch on is Max Schreck, played by Christopher Walken. Now, I'm not sure how I feel about the character of Max Schreck.
I think that he's pretty interesting in the first part of the film, but he quickly becomes irrelevant in the second act. And then all of a sudden he kind of shows up again in the finale. But I don't really think he's necessary. I'm not sure why he's included in this movie, other than perhaps Tim Burton just really wanted to work with Christopher Walken.
He didn't want to work with Christopher Walken.
No?
No. I guess, like, behind the scenes, one of the filmmakers has said that Tim Burton didn't want to cast Christopher because he was afraid of him. And, like, watching this film, I kind of agree. Like, Christopher Walken is a scary-looking guy.
He is.
Like, he's scary enough to fit in pretty well with the cast of characters like the Penguin and Catwoman without wearing a crazy costume.
Well, Tim Burton later cast him as the Headless Horseman in Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, probably because he's a scary guy. So, of course, Max Schreck is an original character for the movie who was originally supposed to be Harvey Dent, played by Billy D. Williams.
Really?
Yeah, that was in the first screenplay draft written by Sam Hamm. Billy D. Williams would have, of course, reprised his role as Harvey Dent from Burton's first Batman film, and at the end of Batman Returns, Dent was supposed to get tasered in the face by Catwoman, which left him disfigured and finally transformed him into Two-Face, who is the planned villain of the third film.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I don't know why Batman Returns writer Daniel Waters replaced him with Max Schreck.
Probably because Billy D. Williams is way too charismatic to be a villain.
I don't know. He's a pretty good actor. I think he could have pulled it off.
Yeah?
Now, when Max was originally written, he was supposed to be like the younger, privileged brother of Oswald, just unknowingly so. But that idea was scrapped as well, I guess. In a way, Max is kind of like the main villain of the movie, in my opinion. He's, the threat behind the Penguin, the rival to Bruce Wayne, and the target of Catwoman's wrath. I just wish they would have named the character like Carmine Falcone or Rupert Thorne or something different.
Yeah, something from the comics.
They named him after a German actor who played Nosferatu in that silent film.
Uh-huh.
I don't know why.
Well, because it's creepy. Because it's Tim Burton.
I guess.
And he's all about that gothic horror stuff.
But Tim Burton didn't name the character.
Yeah, but the writer was writing for his boss.
That's true.
I don't like the idea of him being the primary villain, though, because his plan was so lame. He just wanted to build a power plant that would store Gotham's energy, but it's never explained why.
Well, he was thinking about the future and his legacy and his son's inheritance, and he wanted there to be something in place for him.
I'm guessing that his plan was for Chip to eventually blackmail the city through the plant's control of the city's power.
Well, no, it was stockpiling power, so I think he would just be selling that power back to Gotham, without them probably even knowing, because it is a power plant after all. It generates energy.
Right.
All right, let's get into the story highlights. The film starts off with the birth of the Penguin in a pretty tragic setup. Oswald is born deformed and seemingly evil. He kills the cat. Mm-hmm. His parents are obviously, they're afraid of him.
It's Pee Wee Herman.
It is Pee Wee Herman. It's Paul Rubens.
Yeah, he plays the Penguin's dad, and he would have made a pretty good Penguin himself, I think.
Yeah, you're right. He probably would have. The role of Penguin's father was actually supposed to be played by Burgess Meredith, who played the Penguin in the 60s TV show, but I guess he got sick during production, so he couldn't do it. So again, the Penguin's parents are afraid of him. They dump him in a park river, which leads to the Gotham sewers and kind of grossly to a penguin habitat in the Gotham Zoo, where Oswald is raised by the penguins.
It's a dark setup for a film that a lot of kids see, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, no, now my parents are going to dump me into the sewers.
It's mentioned later in the film that Oswald became a sideshow attraction for a local circus and rose to power as the leader of the Red Triangle Gang, whose members include former circus workers. Now, a quick side note, Robin was originally going to be in this movie, played by Marlon Wayans.
Right, I heard that.
It was planned that his character was going to be a young member of the Red Triangle Gang who decided to ally with Batman. But the character was written out during pre-production.
I think that would have been cool to see. And without that element, I do find it kind of weird that the Penguin is leading a gang that is circus themed when that seems more like Joker's vibe.
Exactly. I don't think like the debonair Penguin from the comics would be caught dead with, carnival sideshow attractions.
Right.
He wouldn't want to associate with them because he wouldn't want to be associated with them.
Right.
So after the prologue, we flash forward 33 years, and Max Schreck is trying to build this power plant. Despite Gotham's energy surplus, the city is attacked by the Red Triangle Gang, but Batman comes to stop them and save Gotham citizens, including Max's personal assistant, Selina Kyle. During the chaos, Schreck is kidnapped by the Red Triangle Gang and taken to their leader, the Penguin of urban legend, who blackmails Schreck into helping him emerge from the sewers into Gotham's upper class. So meanwhile, Selina discovers Schreck's plans to drain and stockpile Gotham's energy, for which she's pushed out of a window to her death before being resurrected by the cats. She crafts a cat suit after going back home, and she becomes Catwoman. And I love the part where she's destroying her apartment. She has that sign in neon letters on her bedroom wall that says, "Hello there." And she crushes the O and the T, and it becomes "Hell here." Like in the scene where she's like finished her suit, and she's like, "I feel so much yummier."
Yeah, and she's just a silhouette against it.
Yeah, such a good scene.
So cool.
The cinematography in this film is just really, really good. There's so many stills that I've come across just like in Google image search results for this film. They're just really well composed and like well lit. It's beautiful to watch. Schreck and the Penguin fake the kidnapping and rescue of the Gotham mayor's baby.
Did you recognize the mayor actor?
No.
It's Warren Worthington II from X-Men 3.
Oh, it totally is.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yep. He's been in both Marvel and DC films.
One of the proud, the few. But it's this scene where the Penguin is introduced to society, and he's allowed to access to the Hall of Records to seemingly find his parents, but really he's jotting down the names of all the firstborn kids.
Yeah, and Batman's onto him already.
Yeah, he's suspicious of the Penguin, and he discovers that Oswald Cobblepot may be involved with the Red Triangle Gang, who attacked Gotham, though he can't prove it.
Now, what cause does Batman have to be suspicious, other than Cobblepot is a freaky-looking dude? Is that prejudice in action?
I think it is. I don't think he had any basis other than, hey, look, like Carnival Freak Show. This guy is a Carnival Freak Show. 1 and 1 make 2. I don't know. He's just a really good detective who's also very discriminatory. Selina returns to her office during a meeting between Bruce and Schreck over the power plant, and Bruce and Selina fall for one another.
Yeah, pretty quick.
Really quick.
Like, Bruce Wayne was just smitten from the word go. It's kind of hilarious.
It is. It's like, oh, another blonde. Yes. So Schreck starts a mayoral campaign for the Penguin, who is publicly favored, in order to push forward his power plant. And that scene just kind of showed how over the top the Penguin character was. Biting that guy's nose, and just like blood was gushing everywhere.
Right.
And then talking about how he's gonna like fill voids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Ugh, so dirty. So Schreck's plan is to discredit the existing mayor by having the Penguin let loose his Red Triangle Gang on Gotham. So as that happens, as Batman stems the chaos, he and the Penguin run into Catwoman right when she blows up one of Schreck's department stores. Catwoman successfully escapes Batman, though they're both successful in injuring each other. She gets him in the side with one of her claws, and he like napalms her arm.
That was a cool little bat gadget that I'd never seen before. Like, why did he do that as opposed to just chucking a batarang at her?
I'm not sure. Why does he have a capsule of acid just on his utility belt? Was it just like the first thing he grabbed, or was he like going for her face? That could have been bad.
But she was trying to kill him.
Well, I mean, he was dangling from her whip. Like, he could have glided down pretty easily.
That's true.
He should have just done that, honestly.
Now, regarding that initial Catwoman versus Batman fight, how suck-ass of a fighter does Batman have to be to get beaten by a woman with no previous fight experience?
And that's what I'm saying. The action in these Burton films is really, really bad. I've heard that like Sylvester Stallone and like Jean-Claude Van Damme like really, really hate the Batman movies because Batman is so not physical.
Yeah.
And yet everyone loves him as a hero. It's like, no. Get someone who can fight. Get someone who's like really buff. Don't have someone just, like rely on a suit. And I think they kind of corrected that in Batman films later on.
Like Batman Begins.
Yeah. So Catwoman and the Penguin form an alliance, which was kind of a weird, awkward scene. Catwoman and the Penguin form a plan, which involves capturing Gotham's Ice Princess, framing Batman for her murder, and then sabotaging the Batmobile to rampage across Gotham, which was a pretty elaborate plan. And I'm still kind of upset that the Triangle Gang was able to deactivate the Batmobile's, shields.
Yeah, so easily. How did they do that? They just hit a button and all of a sudden they hacked Batman's system.
It's like, you work for a circus. You didn't go to MIT. I really liked the little mini Batmobile that the Penguin got in to control the Batmobile.
It was a little over the top.
It was absurd. Of course, Batman escapes the Penguin's trap and he escapes police capture after regaining control of the Batmobile. And this is almost like a precursor to what we got in The Dark Knight with the Batpod.
Yeah.
When the Batmobile ejects the smaller version of itself. That's the toy I remember getting in my Happy Meal, was the Batmobile that split in two and you got the little central pod.
I think I had a penguin toy. It was a penguin mobile kind of, and it had a swirly hypnotic parasol in the front.
I do remember that. It was the duck.
Yeah, it would spin as you drove it, yeah.
Yep. After that, Bruce Wayne uses recordings he had made of the Penguin to discredit him in the eyes of the public.
And he spins the CD like a record.
That was super dumb. Again, it's like using Bruce Wayne as comedic relief.
Right. CD technology was pretty well established by this point in history. I mean, it wasn't in every household yet, but it had been out there for a while.
And everyone knows that a laser is not a needle.
Right. Exactly. So stupid.
So the Penguin, he was discredited. He's enraged. He returns to the sewers and begins his plans to kill all of Gotham's firstborn. So at Shrek's Masquerade Christmas Ball, which who does a masquerade ball for Christmas?
Tim Burton.
Yeah,
too.
Exactly. Bruce and Selina show up and find out about each other's alter egos just before the Penguin crashes the party and kidnaps Shrek.
I liked that scene between Bruce and Selina. I think it was actually one of Michael Keaton's better moments.
Yeah, it's nice being able to see him act, without the cowl.
Right.
I do think the line about the mistletoe, though, is still one of the dumbest lines ever.
It's stupid.
A kiss is deadlier if you mean it. What the hell does that even mean? And who the hell would eat mistletoe? That's what I want to know.
I don't know, cats?
And who would just mention that randomly when they see mistletoe?
You needed a line that was really out there in order to sell the idea that only they would say it.
Yeah, that's the only reason I guess that works at all. If it works at all. So the Penguin kidnaps Shrek, Batman manages to stop the Red Triangle Gang from stealing the firstborn, as well as Penguin's retaliatory plan to blow up Gotham with his Penguin army. Batman tracks the signal from the Penguins to the Gotham Zoo, where he and the Penguin fight before the zoo gets blown up by the Penguin's missiles. In the explosions, the Penguin falls into a pool of toxic waste that he had intended for Max Shrek. He, of course, emerges from the waste later on and dies.
Yeah, that was super creepy. Great moment when the penguins carried him into the water.
Yeah, it was like a funeral procession.
Yeah.
Although those penguins were obviously little people in suits. They were wearing fur, not feathers.
Right.
Catwoman appears at the zoo to kill Shrek, despite Batman unmasking himself in order to prevent her from doing so.
But why did he do that if she already knew who Batman was?
Exactly. That was pretty dumb on Bruce Wayne's part, I have to say. He just wants everyone to know his secret identity.
Yeah, it's now Shrek has to die.
Yeah.
But Bruce didn't want Shrek to die. He was talking about how, no one's above the law, even though in this movie we see Batman kill quite a few people. Shouldn't he be sending himself to prison for murder?
Yeah, the film has always been kind of controversial amongst, Batman purists because of that fact. That he's, blowing up people with bombs and stuff like that.
Yeah, and setting them on fire.
That was crazy. Yeah, that's, the first thing he does in the movie.
So Selina really saves his ass right here.
She absolutely does, by killing Shrek, of course, with a taser kiss.
But why a kiss? Why didn't she just tase him? Why did she have to kill herself in the process?
I don't know, because she can? That's not a good reason.
No.
So with everyone dead, Bruce returns home with Alfred. He spots Catwoman, but finds her cat instead, though we do see Catwoman watching the bat signal in the very last shot of the film, which is a great shot.
Yeah, it's a really cool looking shot.
So apparently that shot was filmed in post-production. Catwoman was originally supposed to die at the end, but Warner Brothers was so thrilled with Michelle Pfeiffer's performance that they announced a spin-off Catwoman film in 1993.
Oh, I did not know this.
Yeah, that film ended up getting kicked down the road and recast and eventually became the film that we shall not talk about because it doesn't exist. So all in all, the cast is great. I think the music and the production of the film is great, but the film really suffers from a weak protagonist and poor dialogue, and perhaps its overly dark artistic vision for the villains.
I think it also had some major script issues as well, not just in terms of the dialogue, but in terms of like character motivations and kind of plot threads that lead nowhere, like the whole power plant thing, the whole mayor thing goes nowhere, stuff like that. I think there was a much stronger story to be told here.
Well, I think it's the result of multiple writers working on the script.
Yeah.
Because there were some pre-production issues for sure with this film. Like initially, like the mayor thing didn't happen until the final draft of the film because the studio realized that the Penguin had no grand master plan.
And it wasn't even his plan, it was Shrek's.
Right. So I really wanted to give this film a high score. I think it had been a while since I'd seen this film. I just had really fond memories of it. Mm-hmm. But after watching it again this past week critically, it's not as good as I remember.
It's still enjoyable, but it's lacking a certain quality.
It's not as good as the first film.
But it's still way better than the subsequent Schumacher ones.
Absolutely. I think it's pretty middle of the road, honestly. And that's why I'm giving it 3 stars.
I also give this film about 3 stars, which is, it's a passing grade. It would be considered fresh on Rotten Tomatoes because it's above 60%. And 3 stars out of 5 is not to say that I did not enjoy the film, because I actually really did. I had a good time going back and revisiting this one, but its flaws become more apparent the older you are when you see it.
Yeah, the older and wiser you are.
Yeah.
But that does it for this review. We want to know what you guys think of Batman Returns. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there who really, really love the film. Let us know if you've seen it recently. Let us know what you think of it by reaching out to us on social media or on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Or you could email us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, that does it for this episode. Our next episode will be our annual holiday charity fundraiser duel, where we usually pit a Marvel cartoon animal against a DC cartoon animal. We've done Chip the Squirrel versus Rocket Raccoon, Crypto the Superdog versus Throg.
Last year we did Detective Champ versus Howard the Duck.
And this year we are going to pit the terrific What's-It, who is a turtle with the powers of the Flash, against the amazing Spider-Ham, who is a pig with the powers of Spider-Man.
You may remember him from the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse animated film that came out last Christmas.
Yeah, we think it's going to be a really fun matchup, guys. Don't forget that in congruence with this upcoming duel, we have an actual fundraiser going on Facebook. Again, if you're listening to this episode on Tuesday, December 3rd, it is National Giving Tuesday.
In America.
So Facebook will be matching all of your donations that you make to any charity through their platform. And if you search for Dynamic Duel DC versus Marvel on Facebook, you'll find us. You'll see that our fundraiser is pinned to the top, and you can donate to the Pop Culture Classroom, which helps promote literacy among young kids through comic books. It's a great, great organization, and one person that donates, we will be selecting randomly to award artwork drawn by Nathan Santasteven of the terrific What's-It and the Spider-Ham.
Yeah, you could donate any amount to get in the running for the artwork, but again, the more you give, the more it helps the kids. Think of the children! Please don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review our show with your friends and family.
We only need 14 ratings left on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. That's so close, guys. Any way you could help us out with that would be much appreciated.
Thanks to our executive producers, John Spees and Bodo Winter.
And we'll talk to you guys next week.
Up and away.
True believers.